Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lisa Martin with Silver Spring Town Center, and we're so happy to have you joining us for Expressive Impressions live in the studio with artist Deborah Schindler, Debbie Schindler, artist and printmaker Debbie Schindler. And you're going to see some of her wonderful work today and hear the story behind it. Before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge some friends who are here from our mutual, we know each other through Partners of the Americas, and we have a lot of partners members here. I see Barbara Block is in the audience, Dana Shaw, a lot of old friends from partners, and we have Yanni Campos Siddiqui.
Hello, hi everybody.
She's here as well.
And we have Rosângela, who's also Brazilian.
Oi,
Yes,
hello.
Rosângela's from Porto Alegre, and Yanni's from Brasilia.
Brasilia. Yeah, we have a big Brasilia connection too, Brazil connection. And thank you to artist Renee Sandell, who's going to help manage the Zoom just because I'm going to show the PowerPoint. Well, before we get started, Silver Spring Town Center, as many of you may know, is a small arts community-based nonprofit here in downtown Silver Spring, and we're coming in from the Silver Spring Civic Building. Yanni Campos is actually on our board of directors. She's our vice president. And we present over 100 free arts and entertainment programs and events throughout the year. Our next event is also on Zoom. It's culinary, Arab American culinary traditions. So we do all the different diasporas and have people share their food stories, family food memories, and it's a really fun time. So that's next Wednesday at 7, also on Zoom. And then be sure to mark your calendars for the 15th annual Silver Spring Blues Festival, which is Saturday, June 15th, as well as Silver Spring Blues Week kicking off June 9th. And of course, many other events. We also have a Latina dance series as part of our Twilight Tuesday series starting in May. The third Tuesdays are hosted by Janira Murchison, who's also on our board and is originally from Brasilia too. So anyway, now we'll get started, and I will thanks again to Renee for watching all those new folks coming in. We've got a couple things going on here. Anyway, can you see our screen? We're not highlighted. No, we are spotlighted. Oh, I need to share screen. That's what I need to do. It's just, that's why I was looking different. Okay. And if Yanni could put the volume off, then listens. Yeah, it has to be completely off.
I had to leave it because it's not going down.
Oh, okay. You can mute it.
I muted my phone, my microphone, but I couldn't mute it.
But you can talk through ours. So anyway, great. Here we go. Let's jump right into it with Debbie Schindler, Expressive Impressions. Take it away, Debbie.
Well, I'm so glad that all of you could come. I've never done this before, but I'm just gonna start and tell you a little bit about my background. I was born in 1950 in New York, and 1952 we moved out to Los Angeles, and I have one sister, and we lived in the San Fernando Valley. And we also had a lot of relatives who lived nearby, and so it was almost like a commune in a way, because my aunts and uncles and my grandparents all lived within a couple miles of each other. So I was a kind of kid, kind of quiet. I played by myself a lot, and then even as a kid, I liked to draw. I was happy. I'd just leave everybody alone. If you gave me a piece of paper and a box of crayons, that was fine. And I pretty much am the same way now. A lot of the traits I had as a kid are still with me. I I like to make up fantasies. I like things that are games and toys. I like word games. I like bilingual puns. and and I like to make things with my hands, and I think I've been pretty fortunate in that I have pretty good dexterity. So that helped me along the way. Um, and well, I had a sort of normal childhood and sort of kind of a little weird childhood. But um, my parents split up when I was 10, and actually things got better when it was just my mother, my sister, and me. And at that time, I discovered reading, and after that, I just became a avid reader. So I like all different kinds of books. I love history. I love biographies. Um, I love books about nature, and I like mysteries, and I love folk tales. And I got started in foreign languages when I was in what we used to call A8, which is the second semester of 8th grade. And so I continued with Spanish until the first 2 quarters of my freshman year at UCLA, and then Spanish was getting too hard and it was getting to be too competitive because everybody left beyond that level was a native speaker, and it was really hard to compete with native speakers. So I left foreign languages for a while, and then my senior year at UCLA, I started taking Portuguese. So Rosangela knows that, I speak Portuguese because she's my Portuguese teacher, and Yanni is a native speaker and has helped me out with some translations before. So I like to combine my two interests. I took a class at UCLA with a guy named Paulo de Carvalho Neto. He was from the north, from Sergipe, and he was a famous folklorist. And so I took that class. I had to do my research in Portuguese, and that was my very first quarter of Portuguese. So it kind of made me jump in with, just do it, So that's how I've been keeping that up all along. I've translated a lot of folk tales. I've illustrated the folk tales. I've also started a book about the Jogo de Bicho, which is the illegal lottery that they have in Rio. One of these days I will get the book finished. Yes. So that's one of my interests. And with the art, my mom encouraged me, and I had a very nice teacher when I was 8 years old. His name was Leon Salter. And he didn't, talk down to the kids. He was a very nice guy, and really, we learned all kinds of things. We did some ceramics. We even did metal enameling and fun stuff. And then when I was 15, I started with a guy named Marty Lubner, who taught in West Hollywood, and the art studio was on La Cienega Boulevard. And on Monday nights, the first Monday of the month, we had all the galleries open, and they had the opening. So it was really fun. I was 15 and I thought it was great, this whole thing about being an artist, because at that time it was the height of pop art. And we had a lot of fun. I studied at Ohio State. That's where Renee and I met. Renee was across the hall from me because on the 3rd floor of Hopkins Hall, I was in printmaking, and across the hall, she was in art education. So we've been friends for a long time. I started with printmaking when I was a sophomore at UCLA, and I started doing etchings. I also did a little bit of litho at UCLA, but not much because it was mostly a painter school. And then I applied to many different universities for the MFA program, and I was accepted to Ohio State. So it was like, I'd never been to the Midwest before, but it was hello Columbus, and we can get started with some of the drawings now. This was the very first drawing I did at UCLA, our homework drawing. The teacher set up a still life, and we were to draw it in various shades of gray, black and white. And so this is what I did. And the teacher's name was William Bryce. He was a wonderful drawing teacher, so smart, so perceptive, very helpful guy, very genteel. And I didn't even know at the beginning that William Bryce's mom was named Fanny. But yes, that was him. And I remember the movie Funny Girl had just come out, and one of the kids in my class asked him what he thought of the movie, and he stopped and he said, well, Barbara Streisand was very good, but she was nothing like my mother. So they had William Bryce there, and William Bryce's best friend was Richard Diebenkorn. So I took a couple of painting classes with him also when I was an undergrad. And then this is one of the first etchings I did when I got to Ohio State. And I was thinking about my family, kind of like a matriarchy, because my mother was divorced and my aunt was divorced. And so I was thinking about, this is, oops, sorry. And this one is called the Goldberg Girls Retableau, because Goldberg was the maiden name of my grandmother, Anna, who I never met because she died 4 years before I was born, but I heard a lot about her.
And she's in the center.
She's the center.
Great.
And then this is another thing I thought. I like architecture. I like church architecture. I love Gothic. I love Romanesque. And, if I go to Europe, I want to go see all these old buildings. So this actually, I drew the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., and then I had a very nice photograph of some gymnasts doing a back walkover. And I once did a back walkover because I did some gymnastics when I was in high school. So I put the gymnastics in the cathedral. And then this is sort of about my father. He's just standing there and he's looking at the flower. And I always thought that the poor guy never really understood women. So that's what that's about.
So the flower represents women?
Yeah,
It's a chrysanthemum, right? A small.
it's a chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
No, it's a dahlia.
Oh, dahlia.
It's a
Yeah.
dahlia.
So,
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Does he know you did this?
No,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
And then this is another thing. This has to do with Brazil, because I went to Ouro Preto and the other historical towns when I was in Brazil in 1977, 78. And so all the little towns look like this with these kind of houses, and they have cobblestone streets. And again, I had a picture of somebody dressed up in a costume, like a raven, but I put roller skates on them.
And I've seen this theme in other pieces you've done too.
Yes.
The raven head.
Ravens. I had another one with ravens, different kinds of birds. And I use birds symbolically, because different birds have different traits.
Yeah, that piece was in your recent show at Washington Printmakers, right?
Right. Yes. And these are life drawings. I did a lot of life drawings. I started life drawing when I was 15 with Marty Lubner. And I haven't done it for a while, but I do enjoy doing life drawings, even though it's very challenging to get all the proportions right. And this is another model we had. I did these probably about around 2000, the year 2000. And then this has to do with Brazilian folk tales. This is about they call him the Boto. He's the pink river dolphin. And he transforms at night from a dolphin to a very suave man who likes to pick up young girls at village dances.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oops.
And then this also has to do with the Amazon.
Mm.
I just got started drawing leaves and I put faces on them. And I knew somebody who's Brazilian, and she grew up on an Indian reservation in central Brazil, but it wasn't the Amazon, but her grandmother was a medicine woman. And one of the things her grandmother did was to do the body painting and face painting.
Mm.
And this is just, kind of funny clowns. And actually I had a photograph of these clowns in Barcelona at the Parque Güell. That was the architect Gaudí.
Oh, Gaudi.
And this has to do with royalty. I like poking fun at royalty. This is a watercolor.
Mm.
This is another watercolor. These are the Afro-Brazilian saints.
Iemanjá. How do you say the first one?
Yansan, Iemanjá, Omolu, e Oxóssi.
How many are there total?
Oh, I don't know, but there's like 12 of the main ones.
Yeah.
And then this has to do with yoga. I like doing things with things that repeat in a circle. So this is, I did a lot of yoga also. I did some gymnastics, folk dancing, ballet, jazz dance, yoga, and capoeira.
Yeah.
And I love the ballet, so I like playing around with the idea of the woman's a swan, and the swan has a personality. So this is the whole thing. This is kind of a silly thing, but it's, the ugly duckling.
Mm.
And then this one, actually, some people think that this figure is a pole dancer, but it was really a pose in the last act pas de deux from Coppelia. And then I made it into the Garden of Eden, and I was toying around with the idea of who's corrupting whom.
Mm.
And then this is sort of another thing, just kind of toying around with the idea of Garden of Eden. And I couldn't find a good picture of an iguana, so I went to the zoo and I drew one.
Just saw a lot of iguanas in Yucatan.
And I think this was from Barbados, but anyway, and I put them on the savannah. And then I had this photograph in a book. It's very weird photographs done by this Brazilian guy of Carnival. And so this is actually a man who's dressed up like a woman who was on the seawall at Copacabana Beach. And these are things also about Brazil. This is the illegal lottery. It's 25 animals, and it starts with avestruz, and it goes to vaca. And then these are birds. I like birds. I have 3 birds. My mother was an avid bird watcher. So, heard a lot about birds. So these are, it's linoleum cut. Each small block is 6 inches high and 12 inches wide. And some of the blocks are connected, and then other blocks are separate, so I can arrange them on the press bed and make up compositions, because I like to see what happens with the negative space, when you put them all together. And this is, it's 24 by 36, so it's as big as my press bed, and I have to use a very large piece of paper. And those who have never seen me don't know that I'm only 4'10". So putting the paper down on the press bed is very challenging because you don't want to get any ink smudged into the margins of the paper.
And for those who don't know what linoleum cuts are, could you just briefly explain?
Yeah, linoleum is a natural medium, and it's ground cork with linseed oil and then pressed together. And so you cut it out with little gouges, and you can get varieties to the cuts because you use different sizes and shapes of gouges. And what you cut is the gouge, you're gouging out the linoleum. So when you put the ink over the surface of the linoleum to print, the brayer, which spreads the ink, does not get into the crevices. So you're actually working from dark to light. And these are more of the birds. Right now I have 20 of them done, and 4 more of them are half done. And I have a huge collection of clippings because I've been clipping things out of magazines and newspapers since I was about 17, 18 years old. So I have a lot of visual resources. So here's the print that was based on that charcoal drawing.
What's the significance of the iguanas?
I just thought because they're reptiles.
So it's related to the Garden of Eden
Yeah,
themes.
kind of just
Yeah.
playing around with
Okay.
the idea, kind of
Right.
changing the meaning.
I love this one.
And this is a sheep, and there was a picture in the National Geographic of a sheep who was half shorn, and they said in the caption that they had to really get a photo, but it was hard because the sheep kept falling over.
Because of the weight of the
Because
fur
of the
on
weight
one
of the
side.
fur on one side kept tipping over. And, I like playing around with patterns. I like playing around with circles and mandalas and other kinds of circular designs. So I take pictures of manhole covers when I go on vacation. And my husband and I went on vacation, I don't know, about 7, 8 years ago, one of those Viking cruises along the Danube. So I took pictures of, I have Bucharest, Budapest, Belgrade, and then we also went to Prague. And this is kind of silly, but actually I know somebody who owns a print that this Swedish artist named Folklund did, and it was of a cow with 2 udders. And then I put it together with this wrestler who won a gold medal in the Olympics, and he grew up on a dairy farm. And then this is kind of personal, but it has to do with when my parents decided to separate when I was 10 years old, and my mom really wanted to get her college degree, and my dad was against it. And she would take, from the time I was about 2, 3 years old to the time I was 8, it took her to get her bachelor's degree because we lived just a couple blocks from the junior college in the San Fernando Valley. And anyway, she wanted to go back and get her BA, and she told my dad one morning, Lou, I registered for classes yesterday, and he said, how much alimony do you want? And that was the end of it.
Wow. What did she study?
My mom went on to get her MSW.
Oh, social work. I love how you have all the different patterns kind of contrasting with each other.
And we actually did have furniture like that.
Oh. Yeah, that was kind of very 60s, the,
Yeah, very 60s.
mhm.
Charles Eames. And this here birds again and kind of circles and flying objects and there's the interchange of the freeway.
Oh, that's right. That's the mixing bowl here, ours.
No.
Or
it's
just any freeway
yeah,
it
it's
could be.
you know, a clover leaf. And Renee knew my etching teacher at Ohio State, and he was quite a character. And anyway, but one of the things he said to me, he says, "You're too earthbound. You have to make it fly." So
Right.
I
Was he
started doing birds and people jumping and
was he a character, Renee?
Oh, yeah, he definitely was. But, you know, the word I used to hear, I'm not sure if it was make it sing, but I liked making it fly.
Great. Great. All right. Were you guys in college then at the same time?
we were in graduate school.
You were in graduate school together.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay. This out. I have to change back. Okay, the next one we have.
So, these are Commedia dell'arte characters. I like the whole idea about masks and puppets and dressing up. So I also have a lot of books about print history, and we have some old prints. And so we're very familiar with Jacques Collot. And so I took the whole idea, but I put the Commedia dell'arte masks on the characters. And it's sort of like the bird ones because they're horizontal and they have pairs of figures that are either looking at each other or away from each other. And this one has to do with Spanish history. I got a minor in Latin American studies, and I particularly liked reading about the colonial period. So of course, I had to learn about Spanish history. So this is from the idea inspired me because I visited a church in Leon, Spain, and it had a fresco on the ceiling of the agricultural labors of the months. And that was a very common theme in the late Middle Ages.
Agricultural labors
Of the months.
of the months or the seasons.
So, well, they're the
Of the
months.
months.
There's 12 months.
Okay. Kind of brings to mind Archimboldo, who did the seasons. The the Italian artist from like the 15th century, Archimboldo.
Yeah, right.
And he would do like winter or spring and like a person's face, but made out of fruit and vegetables or fish,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
pieced together. Very interesting. There was a big exhibition on his work many years ago at the National Gallery.
There's a famous book by the Limburg brothers, the book of the Duc de Berry, which was around the same time as Agincourt, which is 1415. And so tiles, talk about Latin America, or you talk about Spain and Portugal, and you see tiles all the time. And in Portugal, they even have these kind of tile works on the sidewalks.
And these would be arabesque, wouldn't they?
Yes, arabesques. And then this is having to do again. I have a lot of different things with Commedia dell'arte because I'm just trying to. I start one and I'm not pleased with it all, the whole thing. So I do another one and another one. So I keep working on the same theme and trying different techniques and different interpretations. So this is a pack of playing cards with Commedia dell'arte figures. And then these are symbols. These are not tiles, but these are symbols of different countries. And they all involve flowers. So there's the Spanish carnation, the French fleur-de-lis, the Scottish thistle, and the English rose. And here's goes with the old thing with the Adam and Eve. And these are Portuguese tiles. More Portuguese tiles. And then Latin America again. Argentine tango. And as I say, I like to dance. I like to draw dancers. I know people don't buy pictures of dancers usually, but I still draw dancers. I like to draw dancers just for myself because I love dance, and especially I love the New York City Ballet. I'm like the biggest fan. So anyway, and Argentine tango. I love tango music. I love Astor Piazzolla, and also, my mother's father grew up in Buenos Aires, even though he was born in Odessa. He was just a toddler when he left, and he grew up in Buenos Aires. And then when he was 21, he flipped a coin, either Paris or New York, and he ended up in New York, and that's that.
Great.
And this has to do with swirls and circles and all kinds of shapes like that I like. And of course, he's doing the bow pose from yoga.
Is that the end?
Yeah, I think that might be.
Oh, okay. Well, great. So we have a little time for some questions. If anyone has any questions or comments for Debbie.
Wow, I had so much fun watching this because, you made us a kind of a travel through your inspirations and how you got to the inspiration to do what you do. It's really cool. And I was like, yay, more. And then you get to the end and it's really cool.
Yeah, I just wonder if you get commissions to make, for example, in your linoleum cuts, for companies that are selling linoleum, which is used a lot in houses and apartments, if you would do that. In other words, sell them as usable products.
I hadn't thought of that, but that's an idea. When I think, what was it? It was some housing. I forget what it was, but it was Home Depot's home decor business went out of business. I bought some linoleum, a big roll of linoleum, because it was really cheap because they wanted to get rid of it. And my idea was I was going to get all my friends together. Everybody would get tools and they'd make linoleum cuts on my floor. And then we print the floor.
Great.
Then your playing cards are great, and the sort of calendar thing. Those are all great ideas.
And the book with the Shogun Dubishu, it has a poem that goes with it, and the poem it's a bilingual alphabet book. So the poem is in Portuguese and in English. They don't exactly match with meaning because it's much easier to rhyme words in Portuguese because you can use the endings of the verbs and they'll always rhyme, but you can't do that with English. But I do have that book. Been in the works for like 25 years, but oh well.
Good to see you, Barbara.
Same here. Good to
Yeah.
see you all.
I was really struck by how autobiographical your work is. I hadn't realized. So many of the pieces are telling a story, like from your childhood.
Yeah, I like stories. There's certain parts of my childhood I don't show, but you know, yes, there's a lot there, and from my travels and from my readings and like going to the theater
Mhm.
and all kinds of aspects of my life and the things I love to do.
Mhm. And so as a child, you were an only child, you
So I
said?
have an older sister.
But you spent a lot of time drawing and doing art projects. I was an only child and yeah. So you were already immersed in art from a young age.
Yeah, I was always doing it, and
Mhm.
like in elementary school, they give me little assignments I get out of class. I do some posters for them,
Mhm.
and I did posters in the 7th grade, junior high.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the teachers realized that I like to draw.
Great. Who else has a comment or question for Debbie? Okay, Renee.
My question is, do you work with color sometimes? And if so, how?
Well, I did show some of my watercolors. I didn't show my oil paintings, so I did do
Ah,
a lot of
yeah.
color work. I want to get back into color. I don't really want to print color. I want to draw or paint color. It's so much work having to do multiple blocks and multiple printings with you know, with either relief or intaglio or litho, that I don't feel like doing it right now, because I'd rather do more images instead of spend so much time on just one thing. So I really want to get back to drawing. Drawing is my true love. And yeah, I mean, and even colored pencils, I mean, you know, that's fine with me, or watercolors. I don't have to, you know, I don't need a whole lot of equipment or space to do
Yeah.
it.
It's just your work is so expressive. You know, some of the lines and the way, you know, the way you compose a page. And I just wonder even if a little color, you know, could be.
Yeah, yeah, I have a couple things that have color, like 2 colors, just 2 colors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
Not saying you should, just
No,
asking.
no, it's that I would like to, because I mean, I'm in the Printmakers Gallery, but I would like to do something other than prints all the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Renee. Anyone else have a comment or question for Debbie here? I see her husband Bill is in the audience.
Yeah. I
Is
love-
Bill involved with your art other than just schlepping it around, maybe from show to show?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he gives me a lot of support, doing things. I mean, he does a lot of errands for me, and you know, and he's there because sometimes things don't go well, and it really bothers me. I don't like to get into a place where I don't know how to resolve an issue. And sometimes I look at it and I say, this is no good. I'll just leave it alone for a while and go do something else.
How did the pandemic impact your art?
I had a lot of time around the house, so I did a lot of art. I hadn't been doing very much art for actually 2 decades. Because I went back to school, I got a teaching certificate, and then I taught school, and then I started working as a Portuguese interpreter, and then, you know, the pandemic hit, and I started to just work in the studio again.
And then travel also, other cultures and the folklore and stories and travel. Tell us more about that, how that has influenced your creative process.
Well, of course, when you go someplace else, things are going to look different, the architecture, the landscape and everything. So I take a lot of pictures. I get lots of ideas from travels. And, you know, as I say, I like to learn things. I like to study things, and I've always been interested in history and geography. So I love visiting all these old places. Like we went to Spain, we went to Segovia, which was absolutely gorgeous. I didn't know it was going to be so beautiful, and I was just blown away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the folklore, I know you delve deeply into a lot of like scary stories, like from Brazil, is it, or Latin America in
Yeah.
general?
Well, Brazilian stories in general. With the Partners of the Americas, a couple times I did storytelling, and they wanted a program that coincided with Halloween. So I told scary stories, but I told them that don't have anybody come with their little kids. You know, the kids have to be like 14, 15 years old, because some of the stories are very scary, and some of them are very dirty. So yeah, a lot of folk tales that haven't been sanitized by Disney are really quite sexual in nature, because the stories were what the adults did around the fire. They told these stories to each other.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Debbie.
I see Kate has a question or
Yes.
comment.
Well, it's really just a comment, because I'm at the gallery with Debbie, and how her recent show was just really fabulous. I hope all of you had a chance to see it. Incredibly beautiful work. And so I'm just very happy to be a colleague.
Oh, well, thank you, Kate.
Great.
Yeah, Kate, well, you should see Kate's work. She just beautiful, large prints.
And for people who don't know about Washington Printmakers, what would you tell them about it?
Well, I was in it from the beginning, and there's only me and a woman named Nina Muse who are the original members. Everybody has either gone a different way, but we're the only ones left. And it was started as an outgrowth from the Washington Women's Art Center, Printmakers Group, and we used to find places to exhibit all around the DC area. And then we said we need our own gallery. So a couple people, including this woman named Carolyn Pompanio, went out and went looking for a gallery, and that's how the co-op was started. And that was in about 1985.
Amazing.
Great. And how many artists are affiliated?
Right now we have about 20, right? It comes and goes. It goes. People come, people leave. It's, yeah. Well, it fluctuates.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Kate.
Oh.
We have time for a couple more comments, questions. I saw someone's hand raised. Oh, it was Yanni, I think.
Yes.
Yanni and I did not coordinate our outfits. We're both wearing animal print today.
It's a uniform.
I thought of putting that blouse on, but I didn't.
We should have
This is sort of
coordinated.
like, this is my go to work. This is my go to interpret in the courtroom outfit.
Yeah, this doubles as my Halloween costume too. I just paint my nose and make the little whiskers. You're gonna see me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking of the boto. Boto is the river dolphin, right? The story from Brazil. And I saw that Netflix had a series called The Invisible City that mixed many of those monsters and folk tales from Brazil. It's so interesting. And they talk about the boto, which was like a handsome guy who'd come and seduce the women, and full moon nights, right? So, and it has a sociological kind of explanation, way to explain when people would come up pregnant out of the wedlock. So It's a good. So then we say for you both, it was the dolphin.
The
There
dolphin,
was
the
nobody else.
dolphin was the one, the man.
Yeah, the
But the
dolphin was the
Boto is
one.
a strange story because there's all kinds of transformation stories in folklore, but usually it is a person who becomes an animal rather than an animal who becomes a person. And the Boto, he also entices people into his special place under the waters of the river. It's called the Encanche. And people go there and they like it because it's so beautiful, but then they want to go back up and be people again and see their families. So it's people who have these fantasies are people who are going through some kind of emotional crisis in their lives.
So they're
That's
like
the theory.
mermaids kind of.
Well, the Boto is kind of sort of like a mermaid, but he doesn't have he's not half human, half fish. He's in the water, he's a Boto, but then at sunset he turns into a human being. And they have a number of stories about not just dolphins who did that, but they also have stories about snakes who did that.
Oh,
So interesting, right? Well,
And the dolphins have been dying because of the heat.
oh yeah, in Brazil, right? Yes, that's true.
so terrible.
That's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, I was just in the Yucatan in February and we saw so many spontaneous little fires along the highway. And I was so frightened when I saw it, and the driver and tour guide said, "Oh, it's nothing. They're here all the time now. They used to only have them in summer, but now they have them year round because of global warming, and they can't keep them from sparking. They just spark spontaneously. Maybe if someone throws glass out the window, it kind of serves as a magnifying glass." So tell us, Debbie, about any current projects you're working on.
Well, I just took the show down 2 weeks ago, so I'm working on some sketches that involve animals, and I have one. I did one. I have done two about capoeira, but I'm started a different one because I love capoeira and I like ballet, of course. And I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, and I'm just like working on the sketches right now. I haven't started cutting the blocks yet. So it's just, I'm kind of like, this isn't going well. This is not really the way I want it. I do a sketch, pencil, and then I do a mock-up with charcoal, white charcoal, white pastel on black paper. And, I look at it and say, no, it needs this, it needs that. So there's a lot of back and forth with everything. It just doesn't drop from the sky, unfortunately.
And are your animal drawings based on actual animals, or just the animal in general, like a sheep in general? Or do you base it on a picture or an actual animal? Do you have your birds pose for you, for example? I know she has parrot. They're parrots, right?
Yeah, I haven't. Maybe a long time ago I drew them in person, but I haven't. Usually I use photographs, and I have thousands and thousands of photographs because I've been collecting photographs since I was in high school. So, I have Kathy Ridgely in the Olympics, yeah, a long time.
Right.
So I use photographs, and a couple of times, like I did draw the iguana at the zoo. And one time I drew the crocodile at the zoo. The reptiles are good because they stay still.
Yeah. They're good models. Yeah, that's great. This has been fun. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to Debbie for sharing her work and all her stories. I know she has many more to share, and we're going to invite her back. I think I've wanted to invite you for many years to do something with the Halloween folklore.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Good.
we'll have to have a different-
It's fun.
I had
Yeah.
so many stories.
Yeah.
And Rosangela got me a couple of books of folk tales recently when
Ah.
she was in Porto Alegre. And
Right.
yeah, oh yeah, still
Great.
reading that stuff.
Thanks so much. I'll just close this out and we can say goodbye to everyone. Oh, no, I'm gonna stop the video recording only. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Let
you
me
for
just-
coming.